welcome back to Super Tuesday Recap with your hosts, Chris and Deepam here. And we are back for our December mailbag, which also happens to be the last mailbag episode of 2017. It should sound more, should be a more drum roll on that, but like we've only done it's only like the third one of these we've done, so it's not like, it doesn't have the same impact as when we say everything.
We've done a lot of Super Tuesdays, though.
Oh, yeah, we do a lot of Super Tuesdays. But is it even going to be the last Super Tuesday of... this might be the last Super Tuesday of...
I think so.
It's going to be the last one we record. Although it won't be the last one released. Because I think I'm going to release the Punisher one Shannon and the Doctor did. I think I'm going to release that on Sunday. But that was recorded like months ago. So...
I'm an asshole because someone asked me about the show, and I was like... Someone asked me what I thought about Punisher. It was one of my friends who listens to the podcast. I was like, I guess. I mean, I did record some shit. I honestly thought it had been released.
Oh no! I've been holding off.
I was offended, like Loki offended. And
yeah. No,
that's on me.
I haven't. I think the next thing I'm going to release is probably tomorrow. Well, I'm saying this tomorrow. Like you're going to hear this on the show tomorrow. No, the next thing I'm going to release is going to be The Gifted, and then we're going to release this on the. So if you're hearing this, it's going to be Friday. So before this, you probably heard The Gifted that we released probably on Thursday. Release this on Friday, and then I'll probably release The Punisher literally as the last thing, maybe the last show that we release on in 2017 for the MTR Network will be released on Sunday. So, but yeah, this might be the last. Actually, won't even be the last thing we record because we're recording a character corner after this and won't be released until 2018. So, yeah, our release schedule is just weird. So you just gotta deal with it. You just gotta deal with it. Like even for YouTube, I was gonna write. We're all over the place right now, but I was gonna release I recorded and had the Darkest Hour review to go, and then I'm gonna have to record it all over again. You wanna know why? Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee said that dumb shit about Trump and Winston Churchill. And I had actually made that same observation, but not like that. I had made the observation. I was like, you know what? It's shallow idiots are probably going to say that Trump is really like Winston Churchill, but there's so many big differences, like the fact that he was.
Huckabee was like on cue. He was like, "That's my song."
Right, and so I actually made that comment in the review I'd already recorded, and was like, "See, now I got to record it again so I can really go in on how stupid these people are." Because, my God. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, yeah, one guy that would say not for surrender to fucking Nazis, another guy who goes, hey, there's some pretty good people on both sides. It's like, it's not Winston Churchill.
Maybe the Nazis have a point. Like, what? That's not the same.
It's not the same thing. Anyway, so I say all this to say we got a lot of stuff to record, but that's not what this is here for. We are here for the mailbag where everybody emails us in questions, comic book, movie, TV stuff. It's funny. We actually did not get a lot of emails, or I don't think we got any emails about the new merger between Disney and Fox, and I think that's just because
we've covered it a couple times.
Yeah, we've covered it so many times. I think people were just like, "Oh, we're not going to email that stuff in." So, but anyway, let's get into this. Again, if you want to email us, we'll enter your emails at the end of the next month. So if you email us between now and the end of January, we'll be entering that in the January mailbag. So here is, and we had a good staple. We got some new people that have emailed us in, but we got our same staple of people who have emailed us in every month. So we have Sam here. And he says, "Do you guys read only American comics, or do you dabble in manga as well? And if so, what are you reading?" So for that, I don't know about Deepam, but I know for myself, I'm pretty much just American comics, although somebody did email, they didn't email me, and I meant to read this before this mailbag, and I just got so caught up. I watched, we got sent a screener for Blade of the Immortal, and somebody told me the manga's pretty good, so I wanted to read that and check that out and see how that works. But I also know myself that, much like anime, I usually can't get into it. But I was going to try for this one. So,
yeah.
What about you?
I'm mostly Western comics. I'm the stereotypical like big stuff anime fan. I like Dragon Ball Z. I like certain Gundam series. I'm a big Gundam Wing fan because Gundam Wing's awesome. But no, I wouldn't call myself dabble is the kindest word I would use.
Let's see. We actually did have there actually was an X-Men Fox question. It says, if Fox decided to have Kinberg and Singer escorted from the paint and then said, let's get this X-Men money, short of giving it back to Marvel, how would you reboot, fix the X-Men universe series? Again, we won't answer that. Oh, I will answer that real quick. I think we talked about it briefly. But I think that we both have thought that the best thing to do is keep them separate. Keep them separate.
Thor agrees.
And Thor agrees.
Yeah, I agree. Keep them separate. I think the best way to reboot, fix the Marvel universe, the X-Men universe, excuse me, is something you've said before. Is we've never had the first five. Mm-hmm. We've never had a true origin story. We've never had that. I think I've talked about it on this show. I would expand the five. I would change the originals. Mm-hmm. I'd work in Storm and I'd work in Colossus, and I'd probably phase out Warren. Mm-hmm.
He just feels so useless. Like
he's kind of useless, yeah. Or maybe I keep Warren and phase out Bobby because I mentally put him with the younger classes because I've thought way too much about this. But yeah, I think honestly, just tell a simple story, man. Tell the story of a school. You can do something, but you can do what Spider-Man did. You can do the X-Men Evolution, have them be in a larger high school, and have just be these 5 kids who have a secret. Mm-hmm. You're touching Power Rangers. You know all this. Like there's a lot of genres got sprung out of X-Men, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I there's something I think I've mentioned briefly some other places here. But I've said it. I know I did it when I wrote my little article. I think the thing that to me you can trash Fox with all the mess that Fox has made with their own timeline. They kind of did something that's kind of brilliant, and I don't think they realized it was brilliant. The Deadpool universe that they've created is technically separate from the X-Men universe they created. So you could right. And it actually technically kind of almost already, you could make an excuse that it already kind of is on the same lines as the MCU. Not in the MCU, but feels like it. Like it, Deadpool feels more.
In my head, that's the first Marvel X movie.
Right.
Because the last scene happens on a helicarrier.
There's a helicarrier right there. It literally happens like in the records of like Winter Soldier. Okay? Like it's there. So you can do and again, it's already in the future. You know the X-Men already exists. That a Colossus is apparently one of the the teachers of the school. Like it's there. There's enough stuff there, and it doesn't seem to connect to the other universe. So if you were to wipe out everything else and just leave the Deadpool universe, you can then spin out an X-Men film. Again, not in the MCU, but that doesn't have the disease of the other X-Men team movies in it, and go from there. Like that to me is what you do. You wipe out everything else. You leave the Deadpool stuff. You don't have to make the X-Men films R-rated because you don't, but like you at least have the foundations that are there. And you can go from there. Like that to me is the best way to go about it. And like I've said this before, you're not going to see moves from that for another year or so. Like, yeah, I've seen a lot of people with the Ridley Scott's next Alien movie has been canceled by Fox. And we were saying, hey, yeah, thanks Disney. Yeah, Disney didn't do that, guys. That's not Disney.
That's Fox.
That's just Fox. Like it's going to take at least a year for this stuff to go through. And so anything that was look, those movies didn't make money. Ridley Scott's movies weren't exactly.
That was an easy, logical decision made by an easy, logically thinking company.
Right. That was just a decision of going, okay, this is not going to work for us. And not only that, but just the way Ridley Scott's be talking about this shit. Like, I'm sorry, like. Before this stuff got canceled, I saw him say like it was some. I just saw the headline, and maybe it was just one of those headlines that just says some stupid shit just to say stupid shit. Right. But he was asking like he doesn't understand why the alien universe isn't back in Star Wars. I'm like, because of you. One is aliens, and two, because of you. You don't want it to be about aliens. You don't want it to be. You want it to be about artificial intelligence, like. That's why.
No one's here for that.
Nobody's here for that. Nobody's here for Michael Fassbender kissing himself. Like, again, no problem. But it's just like, you get kind of weird, man. You get really fucking weird. And that's why nobody's here for that shit. All right? People forget that the reason why the xenomorphs are the way we are is not because of Ridley Scott, but because of James Cameron.
Exactly.
James Cameron made that second Aliens film and kind of pissed off Ridley Scott. And ever since then, Ridley Scott's been like, no, guys. I really meant for the xenomorph not to really be the thing, but for so artificial intelligence. I'm like, no, nobody wanted to see that, dude. We have that. It's called Terminator.
You stumbled across a much better movie in your quest to make another Terminator.
Right. Like, it's just, no, dude. No. So, yeah, no. It was an easy decision for Fox to make, and a lot of decisions are going to happen. Like, I don't see that next X-Men movie not happening. You know, if Dark Phoenix was going to be
coming out.
Oh, no, Dark Phoenix coming out, but I'm saying if it was two, it was already going to be two parts. That second part's coming out too, guys. I'm sorry. It's just...
Wait, they said there's a second part?
They've been mum on it, but the word around the town.
Second part, or is it kind of like a second part, like there was supposed to be a second part of Justice League, where they announced that shit and then quietly like, no, we never said that.
Well, I don't know, but I feel like they can't be stupid enough to be doing. Oh, maybe they are.
I haven't seen the first part of an X-Men saga mentioned in any of these articles.
No, you're right. I'm just saying they'd be fucking stupid to do the Phoenix.
See, now I'm mad. Like, I was having a really good day.
Yeah, they'd be.
This was never a possibility to me.
Oh no, it's been floating around. Like, nobody's been official about it, but the word is that this is the first of two parts because they can't possibly. And I think it might be wishful thinking because I think a lot of people are going. They can't be stupid enough to be doing the Phoenix in one part again. They know that can't work.
Yes, they can. Look at the movie's not called Phoenix.
I know.
It's called Dark Phoenix.
I know. I'm just saying.
It's Act 3 of that saga.
God damn it. They're fucking stupid. Anyway, I'm sorry. Back to the email. Previously, you've mentioned that you have writers you definitely check out if their name is on a book. Do you have artists that you definitely check out if you see their name? You know, kind of like the inverse of Greg Land.
That's funny.
We haven't had a.
I'm glad people remember how much I hate Greg Land. That's important.
Dude,
if there's one thing you take from these mailbags.
I remember as we were reading some of the X-Men stuff, I was like, Greg Land did this. Oh, this is gonna. Oh, this. So
he finally put on the list because he didn't read it.
Right. Ah, damn it. Okay. Fuck.
Sorry.
I know for me, not really. Ever since because like Deepalm has literally subconsciously trained me now. Greg Land says that somebody, I'm like, oh fuck, I see it everywhere I go. Right. Other than that, no, not really. Unless it's really, really bad, and I can't think of anything that's really, really bad. And I just make sure I don't read it again. Like I'm really bad at keeping track of writers. I'm super bad at keeping track of artists. So, what about you?
Artist wise, for me, John Cassidy. I'll read anything he draws.
Valid.
I told someone that he'd draw the picture of my death that happens tomorrow. I'd be like, will he sign it? Like, I mean, that'd be a really nice one-on-one piece to have. John Cassidy, like, to the point where when he came off that Star Wars book, it was hard for me to stay on.
Yeah.
Because I love his art so much. Frank Quilty, just usually because if it's Frank Quilty, it's usually Grant Morrison, and we're going to get weird. Other artists. For me, it's mostly like historical artists like Mark Silvasardi, Jim Lee. Honestly, I'm a Kirby guy. Historically, there are artists that are more, I guess, like, and we all went through those phases. Like, there was a phase where Joe Mad was a thing, and that's how we got Battle Chasers, one issue out of 12 over the course of 18 years. But yeah, I think for me, especially as I've gotten older, it's been more a writer game for me.
Yeah. So, that's where it's in for that. So, again, Sam, thank you very much for your emails. Like I said, you've been writing in every month, so I really appreciate that. Here goes Steven. So Steven, your first question is something that we got a lot about, and it's we're gonna mention it now. We're probably gonna save it until we enter all the emails, and we'll come back to it. And it's I found myself looking, but not really falling in love with an X-Men series or run since I read Astonishing. Reading Blue and Gold already and like them both. What's another great run in the X-Men X universe that I can maintain and match the Astonishing run? So hold that in the back of your thoughts. We're going to come back to this one. I think somebody else asked us also about.
And I'll also say this: if you listen to our X-Men character corners, there's going to be places that we mention a lot.
Yeah, look, that's basically what he's teasing. What's going to be the answer? Because right after this, we do. It's so funny you mentioned this because we're doing literally after we're recording this, we're recording a Summers Brothers character corner, and you're going to get a lot of stuff from that, like literally. And just like Deepam said,
Cyclops is always fucking there.
Yeah, and there between that, look, we've done before we even done that one, we've done Wolverine, Kitty Pryde, and Colossus, and Emma Frost, and a little we did do Magneto, a little bit less. Well, I guess him too. Between those, you'll get a lot of the same books, and we'll mention them, bring them up again, but. They're definitely there. It's one of those things. I think a lot of people were in this belief that Marvel stopped writing X-Men books in favor of Inhuman stuff. It's not. They just kind of elevated everything else. But those books were still there, and a lot of them were still good.
And the thing about it is, everybody talks about the elevation of Inhumans, and that's great. The X sells.
Yeah.
You put an X on a book, you're going to ship.
Yeah. So and there were some good stories there, and so we'll come back to that after we answer all the other emails because I guess someone else asked that question too. Let's see. Looking back on some of the shows you reviewed, Flash, Legend of Tomorrow, Arrow, and Agent of Shield, while they are all good to solid, what are some of the missteps that the shows have taken along the way that have brought them down to where they I guess that have brought them down. In various seasons. I think we've talked about this with the Flash before, and so for the Flash, I think it's that they try to outdark Arrow those last two seasons, and I also think that it's going to sound weird. They started so strong with season 1. I feel like they've literally been trying to chase that season 1 high, and they haven't exactly matched it. And I think one of the problems is them keep going with speedster villains. Like this season is different because they're finally got a non-speedster villain, but I think the last two seasons 2 and 3, they kept trying to chase the thing they did in season 1, and it wasn't always catching on. Legend of Tomorrow, it had the opposite problem. They just started off slow. They didn't know which direction they wanted to go with that first season, and so they're one of the few shows. They're kind of like Agent of Shield to me, where they were still kind of Agent of Shield caught it way quicker. Legend of Tomorrow, we're trying to figure out what direction to go and what pattern to go, and they completely switched everything up. Like if you look at season 1 of Legend of Tomorrow, they that was a Rip Hunter show. Like Rip Hunter led the team. It was focused on Rip Hunter. It was Rip Hunter's story. One of the things they were chasing was trying to save his family. All that stuff. Last 2 seasons, they have literally turned Rip Hunter into a side character you might not see. Like I think in season 2, you barely saw him, and same thing with this season, and that's worked for them. For Arrow, I think Arrow's biggest problem was that they didn't know how big the show was going to get, or how big their universe was going to when they started. They wanted to do Batman, and they got, but they didn't. They wanted to do Batman, but they
do a full Batman.
Yeah, they wanted to do Batman, but they were too scared to do Batman, so they did a Green Arrow Batman, and they've been trying to slowly correct that as quickly as possible. I also think it's probably their weakest acted show. Because again,
you got to remember this show was originally pitched as a CW like high drama, like
right.
The vigilante stuff would be an aspect, but like the 3 leads were going to be Katie Cassidy, Stephen Amell, and our boy Tommy, and so they were going to go for kind of like a Dino 210 with an Arrow vibe. And once they saw just how electric Amell was, they were like, "We're going to shift the focus of the show." Right. So season 1. While people like go to it for being super grounded, it was almost too grounded because they didn't know. They thought they could do they could sneak a Batman story or a Green Arrow story into a CW but it converted on the run into a straight up tell a superhero story. And from there they were like, we can get bigger and bigger. And I think the problem Arrow ran into is they got too big.
Right.
When we hit Magic, it was like, all right, time to
right. I think we went too far. I think we
you can't shoot an arrow at Magic. Let's just shrink this show down. We're stopping nuclear explosions. Okay, this show needs smaller.
We stopped a nuclear explosion with rags. Like
yeah, that's a Flash plot. We need to shrink this show back down to a manageable place. Okay, people are mad at Oliver and scene.
Right. So That's that. And then Agent Shield, again, it's like to me, it's like Legend of Tomorrow, where, and again, they had a larger plan, and I think they like Legend of Tomorrow, they understood, unlike Legend of Tomorrow, they understood what their plan was the entire time, so they really didn't change their focus.
Agents of Shield's misstep was overestimating the intelligence of their audience to ride with them for the twist of the first season.
So I was
they gave those people too much credit.
I was trying to be nice, but yes.
I'm not.
No, you're right. And you can tell that because now you have people coming back and they're still 5 years later going, oh, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. just getting good. Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been good. These people just don't want to admit it that they were wrong. and
shit.
And they've been super wrong. Like, because Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is, we're going to come back when it's done. Like, and at this point, 5 seasons in, I'm okay now whenever they end of the series because I think they've done it. It's going to be a case study at some point because what they've done with storytelling has been amazing. And
Lost. Lost started its show and literally were trolling the message boards to see what they should write next.
Yeah.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. always had a plan.
And that's the thing that makes Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. so different. Like, at some points early on, they had stumbles because they were like, I know what Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. mistake was. It was them trying hard to force the connection to the MCU. Right. Like, and they really did that, and they were kind of treading water those that first season and a little bit of the second season too. They're trying to find ways to force the hard connections to the movies, and then at some point they realize it's like, yo, we don't need to do that. And
the deal is that you're living in the same world.
Yeah, we're going to stop trying to do that. And it's the thing that I feel like is the not problem, but because people still don't understand it with the larger Marvel TV stuff, right? They don't understand that it's like, oh, wow, Marvel has a problem because their MCU doesn't integrate the TV character. I'm like, you guys are totally underestimating how hard that is. The logistics of doing that is super fucking hard. The reason, like, if you want to be honest, one of the reasons why the Arrowverse shows were able to pull off that crossover this year is they finally moved everybody into the same studios.
And it was still a cluster because the schedules weren't synced.
Right.
Like, look at the interviews. They're like, we love doing it. We love hanging out with our friends. We're going to find a better way to do it next time.
Yeah, it's really, and that's just the TV shows. And people forget that when TV shows, especially if you're shooting long seasons like you are with these shows that are like, this is 22, 23 episode seasons, you're pretty much shooting 8 to 10 months out of the year.
You're shooting a movie a week.
Yeah. And you can't then add in a movie on top of that. And God forbid any of them have any other work they're doing outside of the TV show. That's just a lot of stuff to do, and it's a lot of work to try to sync up. I mean, imagine what they're doing with Infinity Wars and how hard it was to get Infinity Wars and Avengers 2 shot with all those movie characters. Now adding the TV show characters. So I think what Marvel TV overall has decided was we're in the same world. We don't need to force that connection. As long as we have
a great example of the difference between two worlds. So they're on shooting. I think they just came back from shooting break, or they're about to come back from shooting break for the CW and S.H.I.E.L.D. shows. Mm-hmm. They just Scarlett Johansson posted today that she wrapped Avengers 4.
Right.
She's wrapped. She's done shooting principal photography. She'll come back for reshoots and things of that nature, ADR. But her principal photography on Black Widow is done.
Right. Like that, you can't. That just doesn't. You can't do that with. And I think that's the thing that so many people and that's not necessarily a problem that these shows have, but I think it's a problem that they have to address and make the audiences understand. Like it's like when people used to sit there and wonder why you say that DC was fucking up by not having Grant Gustin be the Flash in the movies. I was like, that's impossible. It's impossible.
We need to suggest he does this.
It is literally impossible logistically for him to do that. Like when Stephen Amell came out and was mad about it, I was like, yo, Stephen, come on. Even this is impossible for them to do. Like,
and the thing is, I don't even think they need to explain it because whenever you see these arguments, if you talk to someone and you explain it logically, they'll say, okay, I get it. what this is just people are so excited about the properties,
right?
And that's a good thing.
No, and that's a good thing. Like I said, it's one of those good problems to have because it means that people want to see your characters. Like, hey, listen, don't get me wrong. Would I love to see Agent Coulson and back in the movies? Yes. Would I love to see Daisy like in the movie? Yes, I definitely would. Like, there's certain characters I would love to see in there, but you also got to figure out, one, how you fit them in there, and two, get into those. Like, again, this isn't real life. So you got to figure out, how do you actually get them to shoot that stuff, and that is hard. Like, I don't think people understand, if they, and they will, but when they pull off Infinity Wars, it is probably going to be, we are not going to fully understand how hard that was, and how truly amazing this is going to be.
The director's commentary is going to be amazing.
Like, the sheer number of characters that they have to get into this movie, and the fact that we're going to see that in part of it, like, oh yeah, of course, we have all the characters together. Isn't that cool? Fine. You literally have whole entire properties and separate movies together. This is like adding in all of, like, every comic movie from the early 2000s and having all those characters show up.
Remind you that Iron Man 3 did $1 billion.
Right. Like, that is
by itself.
Right. Like, yeah, that's a lot.
There's a lot of pressure here.
There's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of logistics and a lot of characters and things like that. There's one of the reasons why they shot Infinity War and Avengers 4 together, to try to get all those scenes, together, and as much as possible, because it's like, we don't know how we're going to be able to get all these people together. So, again, we went a little bit further than that, but I think those are some of the missteps, if you will, with some of those shows that they've had. And let's see, what are the upcoming character corners? Been waiting on this. Havoc, one Deepon bragged about, but not needing a day to. So we're definitely doing Havoc and Cyclops.
I think it's interesting you call that bragging.
Yeah.
I think it's more like, I was like stating a sickness. I was like, my name is Deepalm and I have a problem.
Yeah, no, seriously. So we definitely have that doing. One thing that I, when doing this one, because as we were going through the readings and listing this stuff out, that we definitely should do, and I think we should do this whenever Deadpool 2 comes out. We should definitely do Cable and maybe the rest of the Summers Bloodline are related.
That'll be a 12-part series.
Yeah. So, but that should be something we should do closer to Deadpool, because since Cable comes out, we should probably deal with that. Because I had to stop myself from going down the other rabbit holes with the Summers family bloodline. Because
like when you were like, yeah, send me your list, and I wrote down Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, I was like, well, that's problematic.
Yeah, I went through. I was like, oh yeah, that's Rachel and Nathan, and yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, so we'll have to mention this stuff, and we'll have to be like, so in the future, we're gonna come back and we'll do Nathan, because
I was like, some of these I'm gonna read, but we don't talk about.
Well, shit, even when we were doing the Havoc stuff, and you went into with the we definitely got to do we got to do a comic book club on the War Kings. I was starting to go through this stuff, and I'm like, okay, we're definitely, because I knew before you even said it to me that we went to the Emperor Vulcan, the King Breaker stuff, and I'm like, and this leads into War of Kings. I was like, we just got to do a comic book club on the War of Kings. Like, that's just I know we do a comic book club on some of this stuff when we come up and we're reading it for a character corner, and that storyline comes up multiple times in different character corners.
I get it.
Right. It's like, okay, yeah, we got to do this. So even when you start going into the Gabriel and Corsair and it's just so many other, I'm like, yeah, okay, so that's going to happen. So that'll be a future one. I want to try something new where before Infinity War comes out, and this might be a one-parter. It'll probably be a one-parter where we do, I don't know, because I want to do Thanos, and that's going to be short. But I also want to do a larger one, a larger thing that focuses on the Infinity Gems themselves and the Infinity Gauntlet, and talk about that.
Well, so, until the Thanos one, that's a lot of the Infinity.
Exactly, and it is. So I thought that it's probably going to be one. So maybe we'll just do Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet or the Infinity Gems or something like that.
Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet's a good name for the character corner.
Yeah, it really is. So we'll go into that, and we can also deal with in that one. We'll also give a little primer on the Stones in the MCU and what we know about them, where we are. So we'll and that'll probably happen in April sometime. Let's see. I know we talked about doing Batman. I think we said we're going to do Lex, right?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we should do Lex.
We'll do Lex.
DC's always a headache for me.
Yeah, it is. It is a headache for all of us because they don't have an
Because like as you said, Lex. I was like, well, which Lex?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too.
Like at one point, Lex literally kills himself and clones himself into a younger body. Yeah. That happened. If you remember, when Death of Superman happens, Lex Luthor has long red hair and a beard. And Supergirl's his sidekick because she's a shape-shifting alien who he convinced to take the form of Supergirl. I shit you not.
God, I love DC.
DC's so weird, man.
Yeah, God, I love DC. So we're gonna do those
and
two.
We just heard a bunch of Summers stuff, and we're saying DC's weird. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, the Summers entire thing is just about
the Summers is the weirdest shit in comic books.
Right,
it's so much fun.
I was reading one of the. It was somebody talking about it, and it was like, yeah, at one point, Cyclops has to deal with the fact that his son is now older than he is, and it's in his current timeline. It's just weird. It's just weird. Aquaman will probably come later on that year. Just because we have to, because Aquaman comes out and it's the only DC movie coming out that year. And I don't know. I'm looking into doing some, maybe not like normally our character corners are like an hour and a half. We might do some smaller, shorter ones that are like 30 minutes on some smaller characters, and some other things like that. So I'm looking at that kind of stuff for 2018, so we can switch it up, and I'm hoping that we can reach out to more creators and get some more creators on to do some smaller interviews, and we'll put those on the Character Corner feed as well. So that's what we got right now. Stay tuned. There's always something to talk about.
We're never going to run out of characters.
Never. Because even at this point, we'll go back and we'll revisit some of the older characters, the Character Corners.
Honestly, at a certain point, if we ever get bored, I think you and I should just sit here and just talk X-Men.
No, so I've been thinking about that. Like, I also want to do some stuff like that where we just talk characters. We don't do the history. We just sit there and we just talk some characters because, impacting things like that.
I would also like to talk teams because, like, if we just talk JLA, we can talk about our favorite eras. Mm-hmm. We can talk favorite lineups, favorite story arcs. We don't have to go through the detail or anything.
No, absolutely.
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I would love to do that. And all the X teams and stuff like that. Like, there's so much to talk about and so much to go into. So, stay tuned. We're going to be switching some things up for the, just to get more content out there. So, we'll definitely have there. So, let's see. We have a longer email from Greg. So, I'm going to go ahead and read through this one here. So because of you guys, I went back and read all the Ultimate Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. I read Ultimates 3 because I read 1 and 2 about 10 years ago. Isn't that crazy? 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I thought more movie executives were too dumb to realize every United movie universe could work, and now there are executives too dumb to understand why it works. Yeah, funny how that. Yeah, interesting, right? They need fans like Feige who knows this shit and isn't going to end some bro dog who only knows what Elseworld Tales. Remember when Mark Millar said he was leading the Fox Marvel universe? Where is that at?
For the record, I'd forgotten that fucking happened.
No, I've never forgotten that because I keep going, where? What are you doing?
I've forgotten that fucking happened because I remember oh, man. Okay, well, let's keep going, but holy shit, great poll.
No, I have never forgotten this because I remember, I used to make the jokes that Mark Millar was somewhere on set eating, stuffing his face full of donuts and drinking coffee going, looks good for me. I'm going to eat more of those cheese sandwiches over there because they taste really great. I don't know what he was doing and what kind of salary he was pulling.
I want every dime he was handed accounted for.
I don't know what he was doing.
What car he bought with his X-Men money.
I don't know what he was doing, and it just drove me crazy. I enjoy his stories, but talk too damn much like Liefeld does. Yeah, I don't understand. Yes, I'm totally with you. So many people keep forgetting. It got to the point where at one point I told myself it was fake news. I told myself that I had made it up and that Mark Millar wasn't really.
If you think you've run out of ways to hate Rob Liefeld's art, go back and look and see how many times he draws feet. He can't draw feet, so he doesn't.
And this is the guy who
found enough ways to hate Rob Liefeld.
And this is the guy who keeps getting mad that, oh no, this is gonna ruin Deadpool. Dude.
Yeah, he just wants his name in the news. What are you talking about? We all know what that is.
Dude, just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. I got off track with my Ultimate Universe subject due to my anger at WB for the entire DC universe and doing nothing with it. But some competent Batman movies and a Catwoman movie with an unnecessary deviating from source material script. Guys, please tell me why the Ultimate Universe had some amazing stories, but equally headache-inducing inconsistencies. Johnny Storm going from being written as a young adult to a teenager in high school with Peter Parker is pretty glaring. Dr. Doom being murdered by Ben Grimm and showing up at the end of Miles Morales' Spider-Man run was jarring as hell. Ben Grimm went from Wonder Man in one event back to Thing in the next event, and then back to Wonder Man in an event about after that without explanation. Ultimate Tony Stark has brain matter throughout his entire body. Reed became evil because he had the time. Well, I understand the Reed becoming evil thing. Like that's just, I'm okay with that. Like you need to have an evil Reed because
evil Reed Richards is the thing that makes the most sense about the Ultimate Universe,
right? Because you're just like,
of course, the smartest man alive would hate us all.
Yeah, you know.
He's smart.
Oh, this is also why the best things about the Marvel, the Ultimate Universe have ended up in the Marvel. The 616.
Shit! You didn't read Spider-Man today, did you?
No, I haven't.
Oh shit! Okay,
let's
just keep going.
So I absolutely love Ultimate Enemy, Ultimate Mystery, and Ultimate Doom. Call me crazy, but as I read the Ultimate Universe, I felt like the universe was a character. When I found out Ultimate Mystery and 616 Mystery were the same person, I screamed. Thought it was a stroke of genius.
Let's talk about the Ultimate Universe for a quick second.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question about the inconsistencies, they didn't imagine it being a universe originally. It was going to be like their Icon imprint, where they did Marvel Boy, if anyone remembers that book, which actually is paying off now, oddly, in like I think the new Avengers books, because people like to mine old Grant Morrison ideas. Anyway, the Ultimate Universe originally was planned kind of as like an Icon imprint where you tell like the story updated, which is why Ultimate Spider-Man is such a different feel than Ultimate X-Men. Never felt like those were in the same universe at first. Eventually, they realized that, oh shit, we've got something special here, but they'd already agreed to let these avant-garde writers do what they wanted to do, which is why when we did Ultimate Fantastic Four for Comic Book Club, you can tell when Warren Ellis stops writing it.
By the way, Warren Ellis is a crazy person.
Warren Ellis is a crazy person.
He is. I had to put, so we'll talk about this when I talk about my honorable mentions on my list, but I had two books I want to put for Warren Ellis. It was literally me going, all right, which one's crazier? Which one's crazier? I don't really know.
Warren Ellis is insane, and they gave him Fantastic Four. Yeah. That tells you how little about connectivity they were originally thinking.
Right.
That's why it took so long to shake out. I think the events you're talking about with Ben, chronologically, I think it was like a box like this happens before this other. But you may be right. I don't. They didn't have a whole lot of editorial oversight once they realized that. Once I think Millar left X-Men, and they kind of gave it to a rotating cast. They gave one X-Men. Ultimates was always a goddamn train wreck. And Spider-Man was like the one thing they were like, no one bother Bendis.
Right, you leave that man alone.
You leave that man the fuck alone. Because he and Mark Bagley, and I talk about this book all the time, they did some amazing work on that book. Like truly groundbreaking stuff. Mark Bagley's one challenge he said was, I never want to draw Spider-Man in the same pose twice, and I also never want to draw him in a pose he's been done in before.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the Ultimate Universe. There are great stories in there, but you're right, it is kind of the best.
And you know, and shout out to when Feige and them, when they created the MCU, they realized how they did a pretty good job of trying to not connect to, but pull from both a little bit, but knowing what not to pull. You know, like they knew to pull some of the aesthetics. They knew to pull some of the, because they knew that people were reading the Ultimate stuff, but they also knew it probably wouldn't work. You know, to build the universe, they were smarter than DC in that regard. But they knew that they needed to have some ways that kind of connect both the fans of the 616 and the Ultimate Universe, and they did that. And shout out to them for that. That was actually pretty smart for them. It says, "Yo, I don't care about Mary Jane and Peter being married or not. It was passive for me because it was all I knew. I wanted to see fugitive Peter Parker stories and what happens when the world got word that he whooped Kingpin's ass in the prison without a mask, so everyone would know it was Peter Parker, not Spider-Man. I feel like we were robbed, but yeah, there are some pretty cool stories from Dan Slott. I do wonder what if, though. Thanks for being here.
What if is that could never continue to be, because Spider-Man is a legitimate fugitive. He's the most recognizable comic character in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at some point you got to bring it back.
Peter in the prison jumpsuit was never a long-term plan.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, guys. Keep on trucking. I can't wait to hear your Spider-Man 3 and X-Men 3 trashing over Premium. Did we do X-Men 3 already? No, we did not. Oh, damn it.
Nothing. I told you I wasn't only doing 2.
And we did say we were going to do Spider-Man 3. No, I think did we do Spider-Man 3 yet? No, we did not.
I'm not doing Spider-Man 3.
Oh, we did not do that. You're right. Damn it. Why do you have to mention that? Now I have to do it. So it has to come in 2018.
I still don't.
Juggernaut isn't a damn mutant and can't be apprehended by law enforcement. Get the dirty bullshit out of my face. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. I got to do.
Yo, and shout out for seeing that email from an iPhone. That's impressive.
Yes. That is.
Yo.
That is. And then let's see. Just you sent me 2. I think we did.
It was the X-Men one.
There is an X-Men. I'm gonna say that one. Let me go back to Steven because Steven did have one more question. I didn't send this one to you. One more question, you guys. I don't know if you recorded it or not, but what are your thoughts on the Titans live action show and Young Justice coming back? So, 2 things on this. One, so with the Titans live action show and Young Justice, I gotta say the DC's doing something on their with their streaming stuff that doesn't seem to do with their DCEU. It seems like they're actually planning out what to put out in content.
I'm getting the streaming service.
Yeah, like they like, and God forbid if they include a goddamn unlimited service in that as well. God, I'm definitely getting it.
Oh, Chris, you know they got Justice League on there. Like all the JLU episodes are going to be on there.
Right. So they seem to be they seem to be pretty smart on this one. So I think everybody's really excited for Young Justice coming back next year. As far as the Titans live action show, again, I need to start seeing some stuff. You know, some teasers and trailers for it, but the images, they have the look down.
I'm here for the aesthetic. Yo, number 1, I'm here.
The Robin suit looked amazing. Hawk and Dove look great. They seem to, again, I don't know what it is, but they seem to understand. Why do they understand with the TV shows the looks matter and the fucking movies don't get that shit? Like, sorry, but when it comes to DC characters, because they are different from Marvel,
they're icons.
And so the look matters. It just fucking does. It is people sit there and wonder why I flip out so much about that goddamn Flash costume. It's because the look is like the look is iconic. You know? This is not
it's the greatest superhero costume invented in the Silver Age. It's the simple red lightning on Scarlet. Oh, I hate it. I hate everyone.
It is just so fucking.
It's so annoying.
It's so simple. And that's what gets me about it. Like all these costumes are so simple. You know, this is and they don't need to be changed. Like
iconic.
Like imagine if here's the thing. And again, going with that thought and about how the MCU did their stuff. Think about what they did with Iron Man. Iron Man, they gave you the 3 basic Mark 1, 2, and 3 suits. They knew what they had to do. So all those suits look like his Mark 1 suit looks like the Mark 1 suit. You're like, holy shit. They actually
pulled that from the page.
They pulled
it's almost like one company's not ashamed of their comic book past.
Right. You know, as much shit as that Captain America costume in Avengers gets, it's like it's meant to look that way. They did it on purpose. Yes, it's the cheesy. They even mentioned he's like, you know, it's a little old fashioned, isn't it? Yeah, but sometimes we need a little old fashioned.
Like, a little old fashioned.
Like, and then they went later on, and they updated the costume later on for subsequent movies, but they gave us that classic Captain America suit that looked cheesy, looked ridiculous. That was bright blue, red, white, and blue.
But guess what? Cap still whipped ass in that suit.
Right. You know, he looked ridiculous when, I'll never forget the scene with the cops. The cops go, the fuck is this guy? And he didn't whoops the ass of that one T'Challa. He's like, okay, yeah, we're going to listen to this guy. Do what he fucking says.
What the fuck he said.
Right. And the shield looks the same. Like, that stuff, when you have your icons, you have to you can't deviate from them. You have to make them look like they look, because that's the look that we've always.
Marvel characters have always been more about people. Mm-hmm. So you could so the Hawkeye look is fucking ridiculous in the comics. Yeah, it would never translate. So they just did something else.
Exactly. But you can't do that you can't do those DC characters.
But DC, guess what? Sorry guys, the Flash is the Flash.
And because here's the thing about it, every Flash is the Flash. Like, it's in Wally or is it Baron in the suit? I mean, yeah, if you really know your character, you can tell, but the suit is pretty much the same. Like, it's the suit, yo. It's like the suit is a suit. Like it's the thing. Like that's man. Like you can't change that stuff. And so when I see these images coming from the Titans TV show, all I can think is, shit, it looks good. Like
I said out loud, like, oh shit, that's Robin.
Yeah. Like it's like that looks like
that was Robin. Look at
right.
look at Robin.
That looks like Robin. So, all right, let's get into this last email so we can move on a little bit. Where is it? I just moved it back. So here goes Jesse. He says, I saw someone ask Deepon where to start reading X-Men. He didn't have a good answer on short notice. I'm a lapsed reader. I've read to around just after Onslaught. Ooh, yeah, you got a lot to pick up on. Wanted to pick it back up in 2018. This is one of the downfalls of Marvel Unlimited, in that there are some big gaps in X-Men books around that time. Any advice on what I need to read and seek out, if not, and if it's not on Unlimited from the late 90s to current? Actually, there's not gaps. You just have to figure out where everything's. For the most part, Marvel kept up with their X books. They might have changed the name around a little bit.
Yeah, that's the trick.
And like we said, like we teased before, listen to our character corners, and you'll pretty much be able to catch up on all that stuff. So. Good place to pick up, and I guess Grant Morrison start early 2000s.
Don't even Grant, because it's going to confuse you. It's just going to. I mean, I'm not being rude. It's just going to confuse you because they don't pick up a lot of the threads he leaves, and it's Grant Morrison. He came in and did a bunch of weird shit, and then the company was like, "All right, we'll keep some of that, but the rest of it, yeah." Grant Morrison made Magneto a undercover teacher at the school, who then gives Jean Grey a brain tumor and kills her after he takes over New York. They erased all that shit.
They didn't really erase it. The
next issue, the first issue of X-Men Legacy, has Charles Xavier saying hello to Magneto, who had just had his head cut off a month ago.
When you say erase, they made it a new character. They made Zorn
okay. We can talk. You and I will talk later on about how I can confirm with interviews that they've given there was an editorial edict to erase the shit he did.
Oh, no. What I mean by that is it definitely happened. So to me, it's not erased.
Oh, that's what you're saying. It's still in continuity because it's Marvel.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, if they didn't erase it, it's still there. That's why I think it's okay to read. That's why I think it's okay to read it, because the reason why I say Grant Morrison, because a lot of the big stuff that did happen, they don't erase. Like, it opens up with 16 million mutants being killed by a rogue.
It's true. Okay, so you're right. Grant Morrison, you can start there. I would honestly say start at Astonishing.
Astonishing.
If the last thing you read is Onslaught, let's get you a good clean start here.
Yeah,
start with Astonishing. Get you 24 issues. John Cassidy on the art. Joss Whedon on the pencils. You'll be fine.
And that's early. That's 2004. So that's a
You can ride from there to House of M. You can ride from there to there's tons of if you want grittier stuff. The Uncanny X-Force book, which damn you for remembering that book, is amazing.
Yes.
And then the fact that he carried it up. Did you ever finish Uncanny Avengers? We'll talk about the character corner, but he told the same story.
I didn't finish it, but I started it, and I was like, I need it. You know what it was? To reading, I was like, okay, no, I need to actually take time to read this.
He sits down and he finishes the Apocalypse story.
Yeah. So
it's amazing.
Yeah. So I always like to start with Astonishing sometimes, just because. But if you want to get why they got to where they're at, you can read the beginning of Grant Morrison stuff, because it also goes into, and we'll talk about this during the Cyclops stuff. It also gives you basically the new dynamic with Scott and Jean and Scott and Emma, and so you get a lot of that stuff in there as well. So that kind of gives you, because when you start Astonishing, you're almost like Kitty Pryde in that book. You're kind of like, how the fuck did we get here? Emma's a school teacher at the fucking one.
Emma, you're late. Kitty, you're late. Sorry, I was remembering to put on all my clothes.
Right. The fuck is going? How do we get here? So that's good. Schism was really good. I mean, like I said, we're gonna if you want to know what to read for, listen to the next character corner, because there's a lot of really great stuff in there. that you can pick up at. I like the all new X-Men stuff when they pulled the X-Men in from the younger X-Men in.
All right, we'll talk about that, but I love that stuff.
Yeah, I like that stuff because it's good. There's a lot of good.
They get to finally call Hank McCoy out for his shit.
Yeah.
Hank.
Yeah. And now like you have what I love with what they've done with the new X-Men, the younger X-Men, bringing them into the future now is you have the original 5, but now they're all different. Jean leads the team. You have Hank isn't blue and furry. He's learning magic. Like I was
Warren
reading,
has cosmic wings.
Yes, it's like getting the original 5 over again, but now different. And I like X-Men Blue. So as far as the new books, X-Men, like I like Gold, but X-Men Blue is my new thing.
X-Men Blue is my shit.
Yeah, X-Men Blue is my shit. So like I said, listen to the Cyclops one we have. The X-Men, Wolverine and the X-Men was good.
Yeah.
That happens after Schism when he forms the Jean Grey School of Higher. I think Jean Grey School of Higher Learning. I think that's what he calls. That's pretty good. Hell, Bendis' Uncanny X-Men run, where you have basically
that's gonna age really well.
Yeah.
Like you're showing like, yo, that Bendis run. So at the time, people were like, Bendis doesn't get X-Men. Like, oh, you don't get X-Men.
Yeah.
Bendis loves this shit. You can tell he put some care and thought into his pitches.
Yeah. Because like when we talk about Cyclops, older Cyclops, man. Oh man, there's gonna be some talking, some debating about that.
I refuse to call it a villain agenda at this point. He spent most of his life as a hero.
Listen, I don't see him as a villain either. Like I don't want to say he's wrong. I'm just saying that maybe. Well, here's the thing, and again, teasing the character corner. And I think a lot of people who shit on what Cyclops does later on in life don't understand. This is a man who literally finds out through the between the Grant Morrison run stuff and the Whedon stuff and some stuff later on, that his father figure in Xavier doesn't have the clean hands that he thought he once had, and this is a man who's literally in charge of in Cyclops, who's literally in charge of a dying race of people. He is in charge of protecting his people and trying his damnedest to make sure they don't go extinct. He gets extreme. But I think a lot of people undersell, and I think that was the one problem I had with some of the stuff. A lot of the other X-Men undersell the dire situation they were in. Like, this is a man that was desperate. And he was more desperate than Magneto and Charles Xavier ever were, because he had way more weight on his shoulders.
That was against the edge.
Completely against the edge.
It was the end of his race.
And he made decisions for his people. And you know what? Like I finally finished up, and we'll talk about this I did right before we did this. I finished up Avengers versus X-Men, and I finished that angry at everybody but Cyclops. Because I'm just like, wait a minute. You show up his fucking doorstep with a goddamn helicarrier and a bunch of fucking Avengers saying he's fucking.
How do you think this is gonna go?
What the fuck is wrong with you? And then he's the only one that's in like you. I was so. We'll talk about this in the character. I am so upset at Avengers versus X-Men because I'm just like, are you fucking out of your goddamn mind? Oh god! Oh, the villain agenda's back, baby. So yeah, there's so much to talk about with that. Yeah, so there's a lot of good X-Men stuff. Like I said,
a lot of good X-Men. To answer your question directly, there's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of good X-Men stuff. So, but I would say definitely check out those. And if you go beyond just like the X-Men book itself, and you look at things like Wolverine, or you look at things like, and I think that's the problem, right? Uncanny X-Force, and I think that's the biggest thing you got to look at is you got to find out what some of the books became and because some of the names changed, you know. And so when you check that stuff out, there's a direct link to all that stuff. And
also pay attention to the writers that you like.
Yes.
A lot of the writers you like have done X runs.
You know what? And you know what? That's what it was. I figured out that
Rick Remender.
Rick Remender, Kieran Gillen did some X-Men stuff, and I figured out why you didn't mention it to me. Greg Land was drawing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, son of a bitch, god damn it.
Now I can't. Worked with Greg Land on like 3 different books. I was like, motherfucker, like, what do you need to do?
Right. Like, you're
a great Magneto book that I know came out that I didn't read.
Yeah, goddamn, you're killing me right now. So, yeah, there we have it. So, all right, let's move into some of the other topics we have here real quick. We'll knock these out, and then we'll get out of here. 'Cause we're almost at an hour. So, first one I want to bring up, and we talked about this before. We've talked about it on the network before, but I told D-Bomb we'd bring it up real quick. The Last Jedi, man. I'm only off of comic book stuff, kind of. First of all, I guess I should ask you this. Are you reading any of the other Star Wars comics?
I'm not. I've gotten between reading all the. There's just so much good comic stuff out right now.
Yeah, no.
And like the Batman books this last 2 months.
Oh God, I don't even.
2-parter with Batman Super Friends.
I don't even want to talk about this right now. I don't want.
I could cry. Like, I could literally cry. Anyway.
Yeah. I just. If you're not reading Tom King's Batman, you're doing yourself a huge disservice.
Huge disservice.
You can't read those last two. You can't read those last 2 Batman issues and tell me you should like BVS. I'm sorry, I can't. No.
Yo, why do I hate Zack Snyder? This is why I hate Zack Snyder.
No.
Anyway.
Yeah.
To answer your question, no, I'm not reading Star Wars stuff. Last Jedi, I don't want to repeat things that have been said better by people who've thought about the words all longer than I'm about to, but the more I think about the movie, like, I almost get emotional. Like, there's a very real level of, there's an article out there floating around that says the 23 times the Last Jedi said "fuck you" to your childhood, and it was okay. Like, direct fuck you, like when Luke spits out the blue milk, like the blue milk from anyway. I love how Rian Johnson was able to take the audience's knowledge and love for the films and this trilogy and this franchise and use it against them. The opening scene with Kylo Ren when he destroys the helmet is the mirror image of what happens at the end of Jedi. And at that point, I was thinking, oh shit, it's going to be a fucking 2 hour of homages. Oh God, oh God, oh God. But every time they got to a place where they could do an homage, they turned left. I can't even. The fact that Luke at the very beginning says, I can't beat the Force, the First Order with a laser sword. Mm-hmm. And that people were surprised that it wasn't actually him on the plane. I'm like, the fuck movie are you watching? For a piece of mass media, it was some of the most subversive, beautiful art I'd seen in a very long time.
Yeah. I love the fact that it plays on what people believe they know and said, no, we're going to do something completely different. It's going to be recognizable, but it's going to be different. And it also exposes, to me, the big thing about The Last Jedi, it exposes something that, we get on critics all the time, for being critics. And sometimes I think critics can get a little bit high and mighty and stuff like that. But also a little bit of the audiences too. Like, you spent 2 years and all these years, with your little fan theories, and then you get upset that the movies don't do what's in your head. But beyond that, you also realize that if you use, sometimes you gotta shut the fuck up and enjoy things. You can pick apart anything. And and a lot of people started pointing this out. It's like, if you want to play the game and start picking out and making logic out of Star Wars, we can do that with the original trilogy and make you really, really mad. Don't do that.
You know what got me mad this week, but really made me upset? I finally looked up the time gap between Empire and Jedi, because I was talking to my friend who's a huge Star Wars fan, and he was like, I think they're going to do a pretty big time gap between this one and the next one. Because I think it's 3 years between New Hope and Empire.
Something like that.
It's 3 years there, but apparently it's only 6 months from Empire to Jedi. 6 months. 6 months. Luke Skywalker, farm boy, mind you, goes from using a force grab for the first time on film ever out of desperation to letting himself get captured by the most notorious crime lord in the galaxy, dressed in all black like a Jedi fucking cowboy.
No.
6 months.
I refuse to. That doesn't make any sense.
Come on, bro. And guess what? What's he tell R2? After this, we'll go back to Dagobah to finish the training. Which means in those 6 months, he never went back to Dagobah and somehow developed and built his own fucking lightsaber.
Oh, you're talking about between Empire and then Return of the Jedi. Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 6 months between.
That's
Oh,
6 months.
fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. He became a Jedi Master in 6. Fuck out of here.
Yo, it's
what kind of
between New Hope and Empire.
What kind of
Empire and Jedi is supposed to be 6 months.
What kind of
I'm fighting everybody. I got ammo now.
What kind of dry Jedi training did he fucking do?
No, the mail order joints.
Like he came out.
That's cool. I got this app.
You know, he had the Jedi mind trick. He did all like, oh, you get the fuck out of here.
He was finessing the Jedi shit.
He lost a hand.
Chris, he built his own lightsaber
after losing a hand. He lost a hand.
Chris, he's never seen the inside of a lightsaber.
He built one,
and he built a lightsaber in 6 months.
Which, by the way, shout out to I started reading. I talk all about the Karen Gillan's Darth Vader run, the new Darth Vader run that deals with what happened right after Episode 3. And the first 3 or 4 issues of Darth Vader getting his light. Because you're like, you're right. How did Darth Vader get a lightsaber? Oh, you find out.
Issue 5 is when he finally does it, right?
Oh my God. Darth Vader is terrifying.
Yo, it's ridiculous.
He's like, he drowned a village.
I thought Gillen made him scary.
Oh, no, he's so much more scarier in this run.
Just surrounded by noise and dead men was scary.
Right?
This is scarier.
Oh, and then like when he like they literally torture the Kyber crystal for their lightsaber. Like it is. Oh God, yeah. If you're not reading that book, read that fucking book. All right. Yeah, no, but that's the thing. It's like, and it's one of the things I hope that people start also learning. It's like, I'm tough on. Hey, when something's bad, it's bad. Like Justice League. All right, this shit wasn't good, but you got it. That's what it is. But there's things like Last Jedi where, there might be some plot issues here and there, but overall, I enjoy myself. That's all that fucking matters. There's
More
no
than enjoy
such.
myself. I was like, it's such a don't fight to kill what you hate. Fight to protect what you love.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. Oh, when Yoda shows up and is like, tells him it's like, they are what do you say? It's like they are what we grow beyond or something like that. Like basically, like it's basically also a commentary on kids. Like your kids grow.
It's telling you exactly what this movie is.
Yeah,
this is the shit that passed you the fuck by.
Yeah, I mean, so like, there's a lot of great meta commentary here. That I'll be honest. Here's the thing. The thing I like about The Last Jedi is it's so funny. And actually, it's about, so far, this entire trilogy right here. And for people who think that somehow JJ's going to come in and they're going to erase what Rian Johnson did here, that's not going to happen. Rian Johnson's getting another trilogy on top of it. Like, that's not happening, folks. That's not how Kathleen Kennedy runs this shit, all right? The thing I love about this stuff is this new trilogy is giving us all the meta commentary that people have spent decades trying to insert into the original trilogy. That honestly was not there.
You're reading words that weren't on the page, yeah.
You're reading things that, can I tell people all the time, like the biggest plot hole in the original trilogy is Luke, Leia, and Vader being related. That shit does not make sense after you watch A New Hope, because they weren't related in that fucking movie. If Luke, Leia, and Vader,
there was no plan for more movies.
There was no plan for any of that shit. So when people go, "Oh no, it was genius writing, and it was planned," I was like, "That is not how. That is literally fake news, because that is not how the original trilogy was made. It was made up as it went along. I mean, the fact of the matter is the original trilogy.
Empire and Jedi were planned to go back to back. Let's be fair there, but they didn't know if. Your boy was going to come back. Harrison Ford was come back to play Han, which is why they froze him.
Well, they planned to go back to back, but not that story, because
no, the story changed, of course. Yeah. But I'm saying that like A New Hope was released as a one movie.
Yes,
that's why that weird victory scene's at the end.
Yeah.
Which in context makes zero fucking sense.
I completely forgot about that. I forgot they had a.
They get medals. They get the medal. They get the Wookiee a medal.
And we're gonna be real here, because people used to say, "Oh, I just like how the new trilogy is taking things." Like, if you think about it, A New Hope and Return of the Jedi have the same ending, where they both blow up a Death Star. Like, they literally both blow up.
One's got Muppets. Next question.
You're right. I'm sorry. We're gonna blow up a Death Star again, but how do we make it different? We're gonna add Muppets. Fuck it, I like
you're
it.
telling me we're galactic fascist techno oligarchy, but we're brought down by Muppets with sticks. Go on. Let's move the fuck on before I start destroying you.
Yeah, please don't do this. Yeah, but no, A Last Jedi is great. It's amazing, and I know they're looking at it ending around $1.6 billion, which is
with a B.
Yeah, with a B. So
I saw it beat Justice League's numbers in a week. Like, I'm sorry, but Justice League got outsold by an R-rated It movie this year.
Oh my God! It might not beat Man of Steel. It probably will, but it's close.
Why would it beat it? Like, what word of mouth has changed where numbers are going to somehow level out for this fucking disaster?
Oh man, I don't know. It's just so terrible.
I think it's made all the money it's going to make.
I think so too. Why would you go? Why would you go? Why would you go to the theater to see it? So
at this point, word of mouth's not going to get you to the theater.
Hell no. We've been waiting for this shit.
I have a friend who hasn't seen it. I've offered to pay and he won't go. I want you to go because I want to see how mad you can get. I don't need that in my life.
I don't need that kind of hate. All right, so let's move on. So we did on the site. You can see Deepom and I both have our lists up. I'll make sure I link them in the show notes here. We both did our list of our top 10 lists for must read comics. We'll go through them real quick just in case you don't know. We won't give commentary on them again. You can read the little commentary on the site. So mine from 10 to 1, it's Next Wave Agents of Hate. I think I moved up Superior Spider-Man. So hold on, let me actually look at my list on the site.
Yeah, I'm pulling mine up now. How did I finish?
Yeah, cause I literally, it's one of those things I was literally changing the list as I was writing it. So if you pull yours up first, go ahead and read yours.
I'm still stalling for time here. Here we go. Okay, so my list, and Chris was smart because he's like, go buy it for yourself. I'm like, buy it for someone else, but you should also buy this for yourself. My list started, so the rule that he and I made for ourselves was only completed runs from 2000 on, no repeat writers, no repeat characters. And that was a little bit tougher than you think it would be. Number 10 for me was All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison. Number 9, Ultimate Spider-Man, Brian Michael Bendis. Number 8, Batman by Scott Snyder. Number 7, Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon. Number 6, Y, The Last Man by Brian K. Vaughan. Number 5, Captain America by Ed Raker and Nick Spencer. That was cheating. I don't care. Number 4, Invincible, Kirkman. There's only one issue left now, so it's technically cheating, but I don't care again. Number 3, Secret Six by Gail Simone. Number 2, Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run. And number 1, because I will not shut about this book, More Than Meets the Eye by James Roberts. And in case anyone here is a reader of Lost Light, first of all, Mr. Roberts, how the fuck dare you deny? That's all I'll say. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I don't know why I had Bendis in for Superior Spider-Man. That was weird.
A slot, damn.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why I had that. I looked at it. I'm like, wait, that's not right. I just fixed it on the site. Anyway, let me, as soon as I finish fixing this. So here's my list. At number 10, I had Next Wave Agents of Hate by Warren Ellis. Oh, hold on, let me refresh this page so I can have everything right. So I had that at number 10. Number 9, I had Fables by Bill Willingham, just because that was our longest running comic book club. So yes, I included in that also the 2 spinoff books that aren't written by Willingham, but by they're Cinderella books, and they're really good. From Fable Times with Love and Fables Are Forever. I also broke my the rule because I actually had Gillen on here twice. I had Teen Titans by Jeff Johns. Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender. Superior Spider-Man, Dan Slott. I don't know why I had Bendis down there first. I think I had another Bendis book on here, and I switched out to Superior Spider-Man, but I left Bendis' name there. Batgirl Year One, Scott Beatty and Chuck Dixon, just because that's the only one I read this year. That was a new edition here. I love that Batgirl Year One book so much. It is amazing. Darth Vader, Kieran Gillen, and Jason Aaron. I forgot Jason Aaron did the Vader Down series, so I was able to get Jason Aaron on this list without having to use Thor, because I didn't want to use the list that you or Shannon had, and you guys took all my books. Vision by Tom King, Captain America.
I can't believe, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm a little mad at myself. I'm a lot mad at myself.
Yeah.
Go on.
Captain America. It was one of those ones I was like, oh, he didn't put Vision on there. Yes. Captain America said, no, seriously. At this point, I was just getting happy when I found books that you guys hadn't already listed.
Next
Captain
time
America.
we'll do like a draft or something.
Yeah. Yo, goodness. Oh,
That'd give you a lot of fun.
Oh, man. You're right. Let's do that next year. We'll do a comic book draft list. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. Oh, this is going to be great. Oh, this is going to be great. Captain America Sam Wilson by Nick Spencer, because yes. And then my final issue was, of course, just like with D. Palma and More Than Meets the Eye, if you've heard me talk about comics, if you're not reading Uber, you should read Uber.
You know what's wrong with something's wrong with me because I have all of Uber because I paid for the Kickstarter last year.
Yeah,
I've read none of it.
Well, see, that's the Uber invasion stuff too. So, oh yeah, I'm telling you, man, you're gonna read it. You're gonna
sound
read
like
it.
I used to with More Than Meets the Eye. All right.
Yeah, you're gonna read it and you're gonna be like, son of a bitch, why did I not read this stuff before? So those are the main lists, and we said we were gonna spend some time to talk about it because here's the thing: those are the main lists we did, and then we had honorable mention lists that were probably just as long as the main list. Like we had backups that were just as good.
My honorable mention list is almost twice as long as my actual list.
Yeah, so I'll go through mine first, just because I know mine's probably a little shorter, and we might have some overlap anyway. So in no particular order, I had John's JSA run. I put Saga here because I left Saga off because I felt like it was cheating. Because at this point, like every list includes Saga, so I just and technically it's ongoing. So
technically,
that was the way I was able to leave Saga off. I was like, well, technically it's still ongoing because like the Uber
That's
run.
How I got away with not putting really any Jason Aaron books on there.
Right. So like Uber ended its first run. And then the new run is Uber Invasion, so that's how I was able to put Uber on the list. I have the Wonder Woman New 52 stuff, Azzarello. I really loved the first 7 volumes of that. Like that's really, really good. I already did. So Planetary is my other Ellis book. And I was going back and forth whether I was going to put Planetary on there or if I was going to put Next Wave Agents of Hate. And I honestly, I think I just flipped a coin. I like Planetary. The Magneto by Cullen Bunn. I didn't put that on the list only because I know the end is kind of rushed because they ran into Secret Wars. Secret Wars, yeah. But other than that, here's one that it really hurt me that I didn't put on there. Ultimates by Ewing. Like I really wanted to put Ultimates on there. But I also realized that Ultimates is so out there with the concepts they were doing that the average person might not actually like it, but I loved Ewing's writing on the Ultimate stuff. So, and that's not like Ultimate Universe stuff. That's just the Ultimates book that happened after Secret Wars. So, and then I had the Phasma book by Thompson. And the only reason I didn't put that on there because it's only 4 issues, but that Phasma book is awesome. If you wanted more Phasma because you didn't get her in The Last Jedi and you didn't get enough of her, read that 4-issue Phasma book and you see how terrifying that character is. So. That's what I had there, and then Deepalm has the rest of my list because it's all on his honorable mentions. Like literally, you sent me the list, and I was like, "Fuck!" I don't want almost list anything that you have in your honorable mention list because I knew you were still working on your list. I knew some of those might actually end up in your list. So
it's true. First, and one that actually got swapped out at the very last minute, but for Joss Whedon, Matt Fraction's Hawkeye.
Yeah,
it's a smart, well done book. Jonathan Hickman, I couldn't pick a series for him because his story actually goes from Ultimates in the Ultimate Universe to Fantastic Four to Avengers to Secret War, and I'd recommend that epic, sprawling epic to anyone. Grant Morrison, I couldn't pick a run between Batman and New X-Men, so I gave up. The Flash, I made a judgment call and picked Green Arrow. I picked the Flash, Green Lantern over the Flash for Jeff Johns. Mm-hmm. Uncanny X-Force, I'm still mad you've remembered and I forgot. Jason Aaron's Thor run isn't over.
Yeah.
It'd be cheating for me to be like, no, those first 7. So, because it's one big story, so try to keep myself honest. Bendis is Daredevil. I had to make a call there. I went with Ultimate Spider-Man. Tom King, Vision, Mr. Miracle, and Batman.
Yeah.
Mr. Miracle and Batman are probably the 2 best books on the stands today.
Yes.
Dan Slott's Amazing Spider-Man. Is it ending at 800? Because I'm gonna vomit.
It's got to, right?
That's the rumor, that his run's ending at 800, that's the last slot issue.
What issue are they on now?
792?
That would be a hell of a way to go out.
Ugh. I think at this point he's written more Spider-Man than anyone else. I think he passed Stan recently, so good for him. Peter David's X Factor. I love that second X Factor run with Jay Madrox and that Madrox investigation. The Losers by Andy Diggle, and then Kirkman, Walking Dead. Just because he's still doing it and it's still very good.
Yeah. So, so that's the list, right, man? We had so much to talk about and so many issues, and again, we still left things on the table. We still left so much stuff on there.
I only listed one Transformers series.
Yeah. So we enjoy doing this. It was a great exercise. So look for more lists for us coming out. Like we'll probably put something together for X-Men stuff soon, coming next month. So we'll put some stuff out there to check out. But send us some of your favorite runs. Like again, and this is one of those things that people talk about. We always talk about books that get canceled and stuff like that, but nobody really talks about the stuff. But it's a lot of good shit that gets out there. Like there's a lot of good shit that goes a full complete run, and it's really really good. So this comes from both DC and Marvel. So yeah, the stuff is out there. And independent. You're right, and independent. So there's a lot of good stuff out there to check out and read. So, all right. So the last thing on this, dealing with the concept of cancel stuff, there was this talk about not talk. It's I don't know. Let me ask you this.
We do this every year.
But doesn't it feel weird now that because I saw this article from the Hollywood Reporter about Marvel canceling some books. Yeah. And I was like, why is this in the Hollywood Reporter?
Well, I think where you and I would usually read it in Diamond or in Wizard. Right. It's maybe with the Hollywood Reporter because, quite frankly, Marvel is big movie business. And I think that's why it's in the conversation. What people who are from the outside of comic books and not taking the insular, like, I'm a real fan stance, you have to realize that this is an industry that cancels books. That great books get canceled. Books that have good sales, that have decent sales get canceled. Kirsten and I have done this been fans for years. I've watched books I love get canceled and been very upset. Mm-hmm. There was a running joke in Young Justice when Impulse and Superboy were sitting down eating cereal. Robin comes in and they're like, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm reading my favorite comic book. I love it." They're like, our favorite comic books got canceled the same month that their actual books did get canceled. Right. And Robin's just keep going. Mm-hmm. Like they made a meta joke about it. Mm-hmm. So it's a reality. It doesn't feel like a just reality. What I would say is click less, read more. Don't go to articles about books that you might be interested in. Go buy the book. Go to a local store and say, "Hey, I want to pre-order this book. I want to make sure you have a copy. Give me a pull list." Because that's how books that may not have the draw. Like, hey, you know what? If you're on the fence between trying out a new book and buying this month's Avengers, I'm going to let you in on a secret. They're publishing Avengers next month.
Yeah. The big.
If you're going to wait for the trade, wait for the big trades. Wait for the X-Men to trade. Don't wait for Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
We say this every time. We say this every time, and people still,
because you and I do this once or twice a year.
More than once or twice a year. And look, so the big thing was people were like, "Oh, stop blaming the consumer," and blah blah blah. No, guys, no. The consumer definitely gets some blame in this because yes, and we'll talk about this. I'll mention some of this later. The publishers do need to change and update some of the stuff they're doing. But while you're waiting for that to happen, you have to buy the book. If you like this book and you don't want it to get canceled.
Whenever they change what they want to change, guess what the first step for your support is going to be?
Get to buy the book. So there's a couple things. One, we severely overestimate how much people are reading these days. And I don't like to sound this like, oh, people are getting to it because they don't read. No. People are reading in new ways. People buy audiobooks. They read that way. And the reason why you read that way is because at this point in our lives, our time is precious. And so we want to be like, think about the physical act of reading a book. You have to get the book, you have to take your eyes off of whatever you're doing, to sit there and concentrate and read that. In our society today, all of us usually do not have the time to do that. So we'll listen to it. Like that's, I think it's very interesting that Marvel's trying out new things. Like, and I'll give these publishers things. They're trying new things. I think you heard about the podcast they're doing with the new Wolverine / podcast book. I find that's going to be very interesting because, again, part of the thing about comic books is the visuals and things like that. But you have to find new ways of getting your stories out there, and that's going to be interesting to me to see how that works.
I'm disgusted that people aren't reading comic books. Maybe I'm old. Maybe I'm an old person. This is a medium that was invented because of the marriage of word and image, and I'm sure these new ventures are going to work great, but there's something to be said that where all these other ventures are coming from, they sprang from the four color.
Yeah. It's, I think it's just an evolution. It's just like, it's coming across all medium. I mean, it happened to music. It happened to everything we're doing. Like, I think you're going to see drastically less comic books. And maybe we get back into the collector's market of that and telling. I don't know, but I just feel like I
think you've got to also realize that they don't see right now because of how good the licensing is working. Comic books don't have to be moneymakers.
Exactly. So there is that as well. So they'll always be around. I do believe, and I do understand the whole local comic book store stuff. I believe that's also a failed market. Like, these publishers have to realize that if you're betting on people going to a store to pick up your physical copy in 2018 and beyond,
they're still doing most of their business in store, brick and mortar.
Are they though?
Yeah.
No. How do we know?
It's the number. They haven't crossed the threshold yet.
How do we know?
But even when they cross the threshold, it's a large enough percentage of the business that you can't just say abandon it. That's not feasible.
But how do we know? Do we know that? Do we really know that they are
the numbers they report? I mean, unless and I have friends that work in different retail spaces, but they say that every year they expect that this is going to be the year they cross the Rubicon, but it hasn't happened yet. It didn't happen in big retail over the holiday season. They still had more in brick and mortar. So I think what you're saying is true. Maybe eventually we'll be going to an all digital e-commerce type thing. It's not close to a tipping point there yet.
And we'll see. Like, I think, because we don't really know the numbers. We don't know what they're selling on digital. They don't share those numbers. So until they don't share those numbers, I do know those retail numbers are not going up, really.
But they're also not going down. And that's the thing about the retail numbers.
So we'll see. Consistent. Yeah, I just don't think that's a. I don't think in the late 2000s that's a good that's a market for the future, because you're not. But it's a
market for the present. Like that's the paradigm that exists right now.
Yeah, true. Like I said, I think that's something they need to change. I also think they need to. They need to get back to. I think some of these books need to change, because some people are, particularly for these newer books that people want and earn these niche markets. People do the trades, and yes, I think consumers need to change their tactics, stop waiting for the trades, and stop waiting for Marvel Unlimited. But I also think Marvel should look at some of these books that just go ahead and commission the 6 issues, get all 6 issues at the same, put it out as a trade. I know that's not typical, and that's not how
that historically hasn't worked. They've tried it before with the OGNs in the 80s.
I think it's different this day. I think it might be different. Okay, this year. They should try it. Because
they do it. They do it. They do it with the Thanos book that they're doing with Starlin. Right. They do it with, and those numbers are appreciably worse than the collected edition.
And that's the other thing I was going to going back to the consumer. People say I wait for the trade, I buy the trade. I kind of want to call bullshit, because Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur has a lot of people that wait for the trade, and that book's still around because they know that its trade actually sells. I don't believe sometimes your book, one, is just not good. Because some of those books that were listed, they got canceled. I'm like, oh, well, they weren't really good. Like, I can say it now. Hey, that America book was not good. It wasn't.
No.
I bought it. I tried to stick around with it, try to read it. It wasn't good. You know? So it got canceled. When that Falcon book gets canceled, I don't want to hear anybody complain about that Falcon book. It is terrible. It is objectively
I will party.
fucking terrible.
I haven't read word one of that fucking book, and I'm gonna party.
Good for you, because issue 3 of that Falcon book is horrendous. Is the Rodney Barnes, I think, wrote for the Boondocks and explains. And once I found that out, it explains everything. When you start realizing that that's what the character is written as, you start realizing that that's why Patriot sounds the way he does, and it's fucking terrible. So like some of these books are bad and they get canceled. And I know that people will sit there and get, oh yeah, Marvel canceled. If you want true diversity, go over here to these even more obscure books and buy them. Look, you're talking to people who already are not buying the not obscure books. They're not going to buy those books either. Because as much as people complain, you're not buying. Like when World of Wakanda got canceled, we were like, yo, you can still go out there and buy the trade. Buy the trade, and you can save the book. You can do that. Like there were still months when the book got canceled. There were still like 2 or 3 more issues coming out. Pre-order the trade. You can,
yeah, but and people hold up things like Spider Girl, and it's happened before. Maybe you will, unless you get like a real grassroots campaign going. You're not going to save the book, but at least you can tell the author and tell the company that, hey, maybe we didn't save this book, but there's an audience.
Yeah,
send a message with your $1.
But you're not doing that. You're not buying them at all. So, yeah. And I will say this. I don't think Marvel does themselves any favors, and I'm saying this as somebody, this is the case against Unlimited. Look, if I know that I'm just paying my $9.99 a month and that in 6 months I'm going to get that book anyway on Unlimited, why am I going to buy the trade? Like, a lot of people need to be honest with themselves that that's what you're doing. You're not going to buy the trade because you know in 6 months you're going to get it on Marvel Unlimited. And so you're going to just get your
$9.99. Which is why their margin for cutting books. And for what it's worth, like you said, all the books that were cut weren't all because of numbers.
Yeah, some of them are not good.
Some of them are quality. Some of them is a creative team that decided to promote or break up. Like, there are a lot of reasons the book gets canceled. And I think that it's important that we need to recognize that market forces are just one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, people are like, oh, some of these other books didn't get canceled and they have objectively worse sales. It's like, yeah, but at least, okay, but they're
but that book might matter for something else. Or maybe that book was a promise to a writer to make them write, to let them write something else.
Right. So, like,
maybe you let Jonathan Hickman play a little indie rock in some of your books so that he can do Secret Wars.
Exactly. So, like, there's a lot of things going around in that, but I will say this, like, I think there are changes that need to happen at the publishers, and I do believe that audiences, though, you gotta put your money where your mouth is. So many people talk.
And a lot of it's people who are new to the genre. Like, this. I'm sorry, but like, you got to get with the program if you say that, oh, these books matter to you. The way you show they matter is not by saying they matter to you.
You gotta actually buy them. You gotta actually read them. And this is also why I kind of go with the idea that a lot of people are bullshitting, because there's no way you're reading that America book and you got upset that it got canceled. I'm sorry. Look,
you're upset that the book got canceled, not upset that book got canceled.
Look, I want representation all the time. I want more black writers. I want more black characters. I am not going to cape for this fucking Falcon book. Sorry, it's trash. I'm not going to do that. I don't want representation like that. I don't. I want the shit to be good. If it's not good, then fuck it. I don't care. It's going to get canceled.
Black writers can be whacked too. And guess what? Just like white writers, they can get fired.
Yes. So, just saying, just throwing it out there. So put your money where your mouth is. And I understand, like, it's hard. There's a lot of book people are like, oh, there's a lot of books out there. Blah blah. Blah. I get that. You can't. You have to make choices, and sometimes you can't.
Put down Justice League.
Yeah.
Pick up Moon.
Yeah,
Justice League guaranteed to be here in 5 years.
There's too many events. Well, then don't buy the event. Buy the individual book. Like, it's like, I don't understand. Like, it's just
now people will find any reason not to spend money.
Yeah, and that's
what it is.
That's what you're doing.
It's like when we talk about people wanting to put on something for, like, maybe donate to your favorite podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just as an example.
Yes, Thor, I understand. So, that's it. That is our mailbag episode for 2018. Oh, for 2017. We're going into 2018. We will see you all at the end of next month. We'll have plenty of stuff in there. Again, send us your questions, comments, concerns, and everything like that. Mailbag at mtrnetwork.net. And yeah, folks, guys, thank you guys very much for listening. Make sure you guys subscribe to Super Tuesday Recap. That's the only way you can listen to this, either there or on YouTube, youtube.com/MTR Network, or on the site, mtrnetwork.net. Those are the 3 ways to listen to this show. So, again, folks, thank you guys very much for listening, and we will be back in the new year. Peace.